Hi. Before going to video, please subscribe to my channel for more interesting stuff.
Story from r/ghoststories. Episode 1. Posted by u/Quaggy26. The Man in the Road. Good evening all. Got something to share. I currently live in Manchester area, UK, and I stay up relatively late 3-4 am. I always close my curtains and windows quite early 7-8ish. However, on this particular night it was warm and I wanted to get some air through the house, so I left them open longer. I ended up watching some Netflix and YouTube and it got late, so I headed to bed. I walked into my room and realized the curtains was open and the window. This is 2-3 am. I proceeded to close the window and the curtains, however I stopped and stared out for a little, not sure why. Never seen the streets so quiet, so mystical, it was bewildering. I stood there for a few minutes until I saw a single person walking down the street, not sure where from or how he got there. Looked like a small, pale old man, wore a small top hat like a bull hat. Full suit like from the series Peaky Blinders. Is the best I can describe. He started crossing the road and stopped. I was still looking at this point. What was an old man doing out at 3 am in the morning? Thoughtful face. He slowly turned directly into my window and watched. As I was shocked, I quickly ducked out of sight. I was there for a little while. I peeked up. He was still staring in the middle of the road. Few seconds later, that felt like an eternity, I get the confidence to peek back up. He was still watching. Giving up, I realized he had already seen me. So I crawl out of sight and walk normally to the window just to hopefully make him think I wasn't watching him. It's very nerving at that time of night. However, this time he was gone. It's a main road. It would have took him a lot longer to walk over, and then I can still see down the whole road. He was absolutely nowhere. Shops closed on both sides. Then the worst experience in my life happened. I hear a knock on the door. 3 very distinct knocks that will never leave my mind. Thud thud thud. I did not answer. Another louder knock. Thud thud thud. I did not answer. Who would at that time? Again louder. Bang bang, bang. I did not answer, and then silence. I peeked down my stairs to the front door. My house has a sensor at the front door. When someone arrives, the porch light turns on. It was pitch black. I slowly try to look through the window panel and the door. Nothing, no one was there. A cold breeze slowly crawling up the stairs. I returned to my room and lay on my bed for hours. I finally managed to drift off. No idea how long I was asleep for before something I have never experienced before happens. I feel a breath in my ear and a whisper follows. Enjoy your stay. I can't explain it. The only thing I can think of is sleep paralysis caused me to hear a voice due to the events that night. I am still in the same house and nothing else has happened since, and I am thankful for that. Story from r/ghoststories. Posted by u/Nura4470. Graveyard Ghost. This happened a few years back when I was about young. I was riding in the back seat of stepfather's car one day and we passed a cemetery. While passing, my eyes stopped on one tombstone that had the name Ann in bold on it. I didn't recall the last name, but I remember reading one as well in my head. We passed the cemetery and I thought nothing of it. Moving forward to night time, I went to bed as usual that day. I was asleep and suddenly I had woken up. When I was little, I would sleep under my covers fully because I was still scared of the dark. So after waking up, I took the covers off of my head. I turned around and saw this woman sitting backwards in the chair that was in the middle of my bedroom. She had her arms crossed on top of the chair, was leaning forward, smiling at me. She had the green light to her and her hair was a mess. She was also wearing a dress, but it looked like it had been worn out and was very raggedy. I couldn't move when I saw her. I was frozen because of the shock, but once I snapped out of it, I just put the covers over my head again. After a few minutes, I gathered up the courage to look out of my covers again, but she was done. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Story from r/ghoststories. Posted by u/Eva Ray. The Liberian. We have lived in our home for close to 30 years. We have a ghost we call Charlotte the Liberian. She frequently shows herself around our house. I've seen her many times. My 3 children have each come to me describing the same woman. She's wearing a floor-length dress and has her hair put up. She's even looked at my middle daughter and held her fingers up to her lips as if to say, shh. This leads me to believe it's an intelligent haunting. She's never scared any of us. At times we've seen full apparitions, but mostly just glimpses. Some people don't believe us because we are the only people to live in this house. We built it in 1994. So it's not really old and not creepy. But it obviously is not required to have someone haunt your house. I actually do not like the word haunting because that makes her sound scary, which she is not. We live about 2 or 3 miles from a long interstate that goes across many of our states in the Midwest. Also, there are several rivers nearby. We tend to think maybe she was a school teacher or lived in a house near here at one time. Or perhaps she passed away here when the pioneers were traveling west. We honestly don't know the history of our land. We have tried to find out the history but cannot find anything in our county. These are simply things we've thought could be possibilities of why she's here. We call her Charlotte because she is part of our family. She's welcome to stay with us and it seems she welcomes us to be here with her as well. Edit 1. Our spirit, ghost, is a librarian, person who deals with books. It was brought to my attention there was some confusion on that. Spell check strikes again. I'm sorry. Story from r/ghost stories. Posted by u/Lexibran. The Hitchhiker Ghost. I've had several strange and scary ghost experiences, but this was the worst one by far. I'm only grateful it was with a group of people so I know I'm not insane. My 3 friends and I were driving back home from my parents late at night. We'll call them Anna, Gianni, and Ian. It was an 8-hour drive, and halfway into it, Gianna and Ian were asleep in the back seat. I was driving and Anna was shotgun talking to me. We both saw this strange circle of light, an orb, come into the back seat. It was like a beach ball had floated through the window and disappeared. I asked her if she saw it and she said yes, then we kinda laughed it off and agreed to say it was headlights, when it obviously wasn't. We got back into the conversation and I turned to look at her only to see a curtain of stringy black hair between us. There was a woman hunched over my console, her hair hanging and covering every other detail of her. I screamed and swerved off the interstate, waking up everyone in the back seat. She was gone when I looked back at Hannah. I hysterically tried to explain to Ian and Gianni that we had almost just died because the girl from the ring decided to make an appearance, but they didn't believe me until Anna confirmed she saw her too. We started saying Hail Marys and Our Fathers, whatever I could remember from church. My Siri then picked up from the stand on the dashboard and with an American female voice, my Siri is set to Australian male, said I don't understand what you just said, then proceeded to write out the prayers we'd been saying on the screen. Freaked out, we got off at the next exit and called my mom to pray over the car. She didn't believe me either until Anna confirmed the story. We felt pretty confident after that we would be fine and got back on the road. Ian and Gianni went back to sleep. A hand came around my left side and slowly wrapped its fingers around my arm and squeezed. I screamed and turned to cuss at Ian, but he was half asleep and confused. He couldn't have fit his arm around my seat anyways. It did the same thing to Anna, but she didn't tell me until later. She didn't want to scare me any more than I already was. I was leaned over hugging Anna driving. I could barely reach the steering wheel. But we didn't want it to grab us again. Then Ian wakes up out of a dead sleep screaming his head off. He immediately grabbed his foot and tore off his shoe and sock to reveal human bite marks. We pulled off at another exit and we 3 girls threw open the doors and jumped out the car. Then we got into it because Gianni accuses Anna and I of making this all up to scare her, so we looked pretty crazy all outside our car screaming at each other at a random gas station. We realized Ian hadn't even gotten out of the car and I opened his door and asked if he was okay. He said yeah, I'm fine. Let's get back on the road. We just stared at him, dumbfounded. I said, you just got bitten by a ghost and you're fine? He insisted he felt great and he wanted to get back on the road. We switched the seating arrangements up and I sat in Ian's spot behind the driver while he sat shotgun and Anna drove. I kept my feet off the floorboard for the rest of the trip and kept my eyes on Ian, who stayed awake the rest of the ride. No one spoke of it until the next day. We dropped everyone off and then went home and I slept in my roommate's bed with her. When we asked Ian about it, he said he had never told us he was fine or that he wanted to get back on the road. Story from r/ghost stories. Posted by u/suicida_Tentacion. I think I'm haunted, but I'm not sure. Alright, so I don't use Reddit very often. I mostly post on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So forgive me if I break a rule or etiquette I don't know about. But let me start off by saying that I don't particularly believe in God or any religion. While I am by definition an agnostic, I just don't believe. I'm a skeptic that believes in evidence. But my recent events have made me question that. And this doesn't make me a born-again, Christian. I like to keep in mind that spirits may potentially have a different explanation that doesn't exactly correlate with religion, whether it proves it or dismisses it. But onto the story. Just a heads up, this real-life story starts off slow but it'll get more intense. Depending on what you view as intense. My first experience with my potential haunting was when me and my family had just got home from going out to eat. And me eating a giant burrito about the size of my head, I was exhausted. I was also about 15 at the time, so I was already tired from school. I lied down on the couch, and drifted to sleep. I never fell completely asleep, as I was about half asleep. I suddenly got woken up by a plate on the ottoman, the ugly cushion table in the living rooms that moms love to buy, falling off of it. It wasn't close enough to the edge where it could have fallen itself. My mom and my sister had talked about recent things like that, but I can't remember what they said. If the conversation comes up, I'll update it. I immediately thought about the events they had talked about. A few days later, my dad has said that he was taking his daily poop routine early in the morning, as most dads do, and he said he saw my mom's electric toothbrush just move on its own. I asked him if it turned on, and he said he didn't hear anything from it. I believed him on that, cause the toothbrushes me and my mom have are really loud. Another moment was when me and my dad found a cross in the hallway by my bedroom, to be completely upside down. I had some scummy friends at the time, so I assumed it was one of them playing a joke. And then a few nights later, it was just me and my dad at home while my mom was out with her friends and my sister was at work. The dogs were in the bedroom with my dad, begging for his food. And I was in my room. My dad had came to my room asking if I had done something to the door, and I said no. Before I asked him why, he said in a shook tone that he had heard someone scratch at his door. Upon inspection, nothing was wrong with the door. I just said it was probably the wind, and he agreed and we went to bed shortly after. Then I messed up. I was about 17, and I had just started my YouTube channel months prior and wanted to get back into uploading. I was still experimenting with content at the time. This was before I got into commentary and gaming videos. And I had seen some YouTubers make videos about Ouija boards. So I did my research, and tried it myself. I made a Ouija board myself with a cardboard and invited my friend over. Obviously, we had the house to ourselves because my religious parents would never let me. And they'd probably kill me today if they found out. I took out my phone, and I started recording us from across the room. It was on my usual editing/recording app. And we got started. I followed the rules by the book. I even lit a white candle by the board to attract good spirits. My friend admitted later on that he had moved the piece first time, but he didn't move it the second time. Which explains why he didn't freak out until it moved the second time. To speed up the story a bit, the guy said he was from the 1950s, and that he killed his family. And he at one point said no, when I asked if it was okay to record. And he ended the session, and I kept my cool and was respectful. I got up, grabbed my phone and edited it and tried to upload it, but it failed and I was unable to save the recording. And then nothing happened. Until recently. About a week ago, I got up in the middle of the night to make a snack. And I usually have to close my parents' bedroom door because the kitchen light usually shines into their room at night. And there wasn't a single light on through the house, except maybe my bedroom, which can't be seen from my parents' door, and I go to close it. And my dad is clearly snoring and my mom is still in bed. And I come face to face with a woman in their room. I could barely see, but I could see 2 eyes, and messy black hair. She was a bit shorter than me, but that's all I could notice. I immediately panicked in my head, and slowly closed the door and walked away seemingly calm. I went directly in my room and locked the door. I just didn't want anything to do with it. A few nights ago, I was on Discord at my desk. I just got off of a VC, and was cracking jokes with some people in the general chat, text, not voice. My fan is on, and boy, is it powerful. I'm literally just sitting here, enjoying my nice cold room. And I suddenly feel some hot breath with no smell hit my face. My Blue Yeti Nano was right next to my face when this happened, and I could hear the blowing in my headphones. I've done enough mic spam in my days to know that, and I started freaking out, telling people in chat. But no one took me seriously. My last straw was tonight, when I was watching YouTube videos on my PS3. Throughout the night, I felt like I was being watched. It gave me some serious anxiety just being in there. I would mostly feel like I'm being watched from the hallway, and a little bit from the windows on the back door. It made me more comfortable to leave the lights on in there. And I felt like something was gonna pop out at me or hurt me. My blood was pumping just sitting there thinking about it. That was my experience with this. I don't particularly think I'm haunted, but I also believe it's a possibility. Sorry if this wasn't super exciting. I'll update if I need to, or if it's requested, it probably won't. Feel free to give me any questions you may have. Advice that isn't be a Christian again is appreciated. Have a great day, and stay safe during quarantine.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.